have a question. As a consultant slash salesperson, networking is a really big thing to me, and I've found that there's a lot of networking groups like Master Networks, BNI, Rich Local, all these groups. But there's a lot of, how do you find the right one for you? I guess is the best way to ask. Like, how do you guys find the right networking groups that you're comfortable with? What do you look for when looking at networking groups, especially ones that you have to pay for?
For me, over the years, I found that like BNI works for some people, but for me, I didn't enjoy it because you had to be there like every single time and you had to trade a certain amount of leads. And for me, that was tough, especially at the time when I was doing that because I was new to the area and I didn't know anybody. So I'm like, how am I going to get people to buy your exterminating services when I don't know anyone? So that one for me was tough, but I know some people have had great success with BNI because there is that structure and that you are always having to pass leads. I had done a group similar to that was smaller when I first started, and it did really help each other out to like motivate you to get leads for the other people. For me, I've enjoyed groups like this one because to me it was a little more laid back and more personable. And then I've also done the chamber, and at one point I was the president of the chamber leads group that met, like, I'm just gonna say Wednesdays afternoon for lunch because I can't remember what day it was. I did enjoy being a part of the chamber leads group for a while because it got me connected with the staff at the chamber, and it allowed me to know what was going on with business and the businesses that were coming in. So I kind of felt like I got that sneak peek of what was going on. But over time, I got burnt out as a small business owner going to chamber events because I felt like it was really focused more on the big guys getting the benefit, but the big guys didn't attend the events. So it was like you felt like you were joining the chamber to be able to get to hang out with the big league, but the big league didn't usually show up. So it was one of those mixed things. So when Chris Ann started this program forever ago, to me, it was more of a fit. The other ones that I love too is if you do like service organizations like Rotary or like American Businesswomen. I know you're a guy, but I always enjoyed that American Businesswomen's Association always had a monthly speaker. And so it gave that extra engagement. So kind of thinking about like, what is it that you want from it? Is it that you're wanting to grow as a business owner, or is you're just wanting to network? And that kind of helps define which one you go to. Sorry, that was a real long answer.
I think it was a great answer. Very thorough.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that. I think finding things that you feel personally passionate about and participating in that, even if it's not a formal networking group, a lot of times can have a lot of benefits because you're showing up as your authentic self. You are there for something that actually matters to you. And you're still there with other people in the community, and other people in the community know people. They have businesses, they work for businesses. And again, I think that so much of networking is really just the whole letting people know who you are and, getting to know who they are. So that can be done, through the formal networking groups. And it can also be done through some of these other things that will help with that. And then with the formal networking things, I think looking at what your purpose is, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to gain support and, an awareness of, you and your brand and what you do? Are you able to go regularly all the time? Like Joette was saying, the BNI group, for me personally, again, I've got a young daughter and with small business, it's not possible for me to commit to something like that all the time. So that kind of wasn't really an option for me. But for people that it works for, I know people get a lot of benefit out of it. So looking at what each group requires and seeing if that is a fit for what is in line with what you can do and what you want to do, I think is a good place to start too.
I would like to add something to that. So there are 3 different kind of leads. And for me, networking has been the only way to get the business. And because I'm in such a niche market, it's very hard to go to networking events who are very niche oriented. So what I basically do is just trying to go to networking event where a lot of business people are, and usually there's three kind of leads, like a hot leads, cold, and warm. So if you know someone directly, you think that's a could be your customer, that's a hot lead. But if you don't know anybody, that's cool. But if the people you know that they know somebody, that could be a warm lead, and that could turn out to be a lot better. So that's the reason I use networking event, not to get customer directly, but just to get to know people and just tell them what I do and what problems I solve. And maybe when they're having conversation with somebody, they're like, oh yeah, I remember this guy could help you. And that's how basically I got started in the business. So there is no particular one networking event you go to. I started with Lakeland Business Leaders. I just walked into the first meeting, and that time I was just started my business. And now because of that, I got to know a lot of people. And because of those people, I met a lot of different people and got customer like that. So it all depends on what you're looking for. And I suggest go to any networking event. You'll find something for sure.
Thank you, Ruth. And Jasmine?
I was going to start a new question, so I don't know if we're wrapping up on the existing one, but I actually work best knowing other people's thoughts on things. So my question isn't even a problem that I'm having. I like getting inspiration from everyone's experiences. So I have a question for every single one of you guys. If you could offer a piece of advice to your younger self starting your business, what would it be and why?
Okay. Let me pause. Let me put a pin on that, because I wanted to go back to Christian for his thought on what the feedback was. But before we did that, I also wanted to give some thoughts. So in response to Christian's question, as I'm listening to the responses, I'm feeling like the responses I'm hearing represent what I believe. And when you walk into a room and you feel that vibe of, these are my people, they think the way I think, I believe the things that they're saying are authentic, they truly seem to care about the outcomes that they can help me, relationships they can introduce me to, people and whatnot. And I know the funny part is that, Christian, you came on board right in the middle of the pandemic. So you've never been to one of our in-person events yet. We haven't had an in-person event since you've been a member. So I think my response is along the lines of what Ruth was saying. Go to a lot of different places with the mindset of asking almost that exact same question, but maybe gear it toward, like, why do you network here? What is it about this group of people that makes it the right fit for you? And whatever those answers are going to resonate with you, or they're not going to resonate with you, and they're going to make you want to come back. And I've been doing this long enough now to know that people come, they hear Bridge, there's some hype, Lakeland Business Leaders, there's some hype, somebody invited them, and they show up and it's not the right fit for them. The vibe isn't there. The experience that they had wasn't great. Whatever, they're looking for more of a BNI. Maybe they're looking for more of a structure. And so they go and gravitate toward that. So I think it's really, what is it that you want networking groups for? And if you have a hard requirement at the end of the month for X amount of leads, then those kinds of outcomes and goals have to be a part of the decisions that you're making for your networking group. If you're more involved, your involvement is more focused on the relationship or focused on the things that you can innately bring to the table as well as possibly get from others, then that's a different purpose. So I think it starts with, what are you trying to get out of the group? And then going and finding the groups that fit your needs the best. But it's really kind of cool to hear what everybody was saying, because everything they said about their experience of what they want in a group is similar to what I want, which is how I know I'm in the right place. So Christian, we're back at you. I don't know if anyone else had some thoughts in response to your particular question.
I don't hear anybody. So I appreciate it. I just, being newer to the consulting side of things and knowing that groups are, the first thing I ever learned was like BNI, and I thought that was great. And I didn't know there was all kinds of different networking groups until like I found Brewers Local and the Master Networks and this and that and all kinds of different ones. So now I just feel like overwhelmed that there's so many that now I don't know how to pick the right one to work for me. And it was very helpful. Everyone was very helpful and letting me know that, to fill it out, that you can go and check out the different ones and ask those questions and do that, because I started with a BNI and I'm trying to join them, and it just, the energy and the attitude kind of changed recently, and now I feel out of place compared to like when I'm here with Bridge Local or with another networking group I went and checked out the other day. I felt comfortable and it was like fun. And the BNI just feels kind of, it's like you said, that structure, but also kind of like really too structured, almost like very not militaristic, but just like
Right.
this is this. So you don't really get to meet the people. You just know what they do.
Right.
So.
Chris Ann, when did you start Lakeland Business Leaders? What year was it?
December 2010 or no, 2010. So 10 years ago.
Yeah. Now, of course, I'm partial to Bridge, so I can always say that I belong to. I was in real estate in New Jersey before I moved here. I've been, involved in various different things, and I've done a lot of different networking groups. And I think that a lot of it for me is I have always wanted to know the people. Like I think it's really important to know what you're supporting and to be very intentional and people. That's what it is for me. And Bridge is the group that is the overwhelming feeling. All the other ones, it has always felt on a certain point, it's not that it's an inherently bad thing if you're trying to get a certain amount of leads, but it has always felt like you are waiting to get to hand your card, receive the card, and it is like it's a transaction kind of thing. You are going there to get something. And again, sometimes that's not to say that that's a bad thing in itself, but Bridge is different. This is to give, and then to know that when you are giving and you're building these relationships, the people are going to want to support you, and they're going to want to be a part of your journey. And you come to Bridge when you want that to be that for other people. And that to me is what kind of makes it different. So I do think that they all kind of have their own place, and it's just what works for you. So yeah, I always gotta throw that in.
Well, I love the fact that there's people that feel that need for the relationship, and I'm very grateful to Diane and Joette and Root. And, I'll tell you something about Root, when going back to the thought of the person who comes in and says, is this the place for me or not? So that very first meeting where, Root comes in, and I said to him, I hope that you come back, because I couldn't tell if he had enjoyed himself, if he had not. He's a little bit younger than our average, attendee at some of our events. And it's a thing about what's inside that you can't get from face value. Unless you've gotten to know a person and what they value and what is important to them, you just can't get that in a chance meeting. And so it's wonderful to know that people come back, and when they stick around and they come back whenever they're able. And that's the beauty, I think, of what Bridge is it's very organic. And sometimes that is, again, not what people are looking for. They're wanting that, I'm going to get this. I have to report. And some people have to report back to a supervisor and say, this is how many leads I got. And if we're not calculating those leads and intentionally setting that up, it's harder for them to feel like there's the value in showing up at Bridge.